Today, we're going to take a look at the fastest growing company in the entire online info space and break down exactly what she did in order to make $1 million months with her online coaching offer. We're going to break down the 4 biggest levers that she pulled in order to stand out in a market that's completely saturated. If you don't know who this is, her name is Shelby Sapp, and she's literally been able to dominate the entire online sales industry in a matter of months because she pulled these 4 biggest levers. The very first reason that she's been able to achieve all the success is how she carries herself, right? It's her communication and her ability to speak with pure confidence and conviction to capture attention straight away. She's extremely good at talking to the camera and using her tonality and words to actually just say what she wants and capture your attention. And if you look across the board in the biggest online education sellers in the market right now, all of them have one thing in common, and they're all great at communication. The reason why you have to communicate so well is because you have to show that the audience can trust you. You have to let them know that you have the authority, and you have to let them know that you have the lifestyle. Now, in the trust aspect, they have to trust you as a person. And if you don't sound the part and you don't play the part, they're not going to trust you no matter what you say, right? I could say the exact same thing that someone else said, but just because I say it better, I'm able to build that trust. And Shelby has done an amazing job at just looking like she knows everything on sales. And the truth is, she's a great sales rep, right? But she's not the best in the game. And I think everyone can agree with that. She's not the best in the game, but she sounds like she's the best in the game. And that's where the trust is built. It doesn't actually matter if you're the best in the game. As long as you sound like you're the best, that's what matters. Another aspect is she has the authority, and she constantly states why she's qualified to talk on this subject. She always talks about her back in the day in, door-to-door sales, and how long she's been in sales, and how many things she's learned from, and all this type of stuff. And she builds that authority because you trust her because of what she's been through and how long she's been in the game. She constantly says that, and she shows the lifestyle. She's 24 years old, living in Miami, drives her own Porsche that she bought with her own money, and she shows that aspect of her life that people want to live. Now, a lot of people think that you have to have all that stuff. And I can tell you from firsthand experience that I don't have a car. I don't flex my watch all the time. I don't have a lot of these things that people think that I must have as a 100K a month business owner. But what I do is I sell people on the idea that I have time and location freedom. The idea that I have a business that serves me, not the other way around. The idea that I truly enjoy my life and I'm not completely centered around the business, right? And I sell that lifestyle. And that's what you got to do as well. Every single one of you has a lifestyle, and don't think that you have to be living the Miami guru lifestyle in order to show it. You can show other aspects that you genuinely enjoy and that you genuinely love, because what that'll do is it'll attract the right type of audience, okay? And that's the most important thing. And the brand that she's selling is this whole idea of being a girl boss. And the associations with being a girl boss is, okay, you're financially independent. You're materialistic and stuff. You buy whatever you want. There's empowerment, there's feminine strength, and you can travel, you have confidence, and all this type of stuff. And she's leaning into the biggest movement in 2025, which is the feminist movement, right? People wanting to make money on their own, and people not wanting to marry a rich guy, or not wanting to marry at all, and just being their, self-made boss girl CEO. She's leaning into that angle, and that is working for her so fucking well. Online sales was a saturated market, but she found a group of people that were not served in that market, and she sold to that group of people, and she grew that market even more, and she made sales a well-known thing in the women's space, which is fucking amazing, right? Which is fucking amazing. And it's a perfect example of understanding your market. You gotta ask yourself, in your market and in your niche, who is in extreme pain, that has buying power and is easy to target, that is underserved in your market, and how can you target them with your marketing? The same way that Shelby has targeted the women that are in this whole feminist movement that want to make their own money and everything, right? Now, the second aspect that she does extremely well is she sells you on her. And this is where a lot of people get it messed up. If you're selling an online service, a lot of the times we think that we got to sell people on our vehicle and then sell ourselves. But she does the opposite. She sells you on the lifestyle, the belief, and wanting to be her. And then she introduces you to her vehicle. And so she shows you the Porsche. She shows you that she's traveling everywhere. She shows you that she's making a ton of money. And then it piques your interest, and you ask yourself, okay, how is she doing this? Because I want to be like Shelby. And then she sells you on the vehicle. I want you guys to watch this video right now and understand exactly how she's been able to do that. she understands the game, right? And it's all about selling people on you first and the lifestyle and the dream and everything, and then selling the vehicle. Like there's no airline that actually sells the plane ticket. They all sell the feeling of being in Hawaii, being on a beach, being able to enjoy with your friends and have a few drinks and live life and get a tan, right? That's what airlines sell. They never actually sell the plane ticket. And you got to understand that marketing on a bigger level is just selling the dream first and then selling the vehicle. So she completely understands who her market is. So the before state for the people that she's targeting is people that have no financial freedom. They're either, having stress and they work a 9 to 5 or a part-time job. They have capped earnings, no location freedom, and just like, a burning desire for luxury without the means to fulfill. And what that means is she has a market that has a high extreme pain point. And the whole dream that she's selling is, okay, I'll teach you a high value skill that'll bring you a ridiculous amount of income without building a business, right? You have extreme location freedom, you have financial independence, you have a sense of purpose because you're doing it yourself, you have a life of luxury, you have less stress, and you don't need to rely on anybody. And that's what she sells. And so the reason why Shelby's been able to dominate the space because she completely understands what the women that look up to her want. They want the lifestyle that she's living. They don't want to have to rely on a man, and they want to rely on themselves. And it's a huge marketing angle that she's leaning towards. Now, if you pay attention to Shelby's content strategy, she doesn't have a single video that she always recreates, if that makes sense. She just throws a bunch of content out there. And because it's Shelby, every single video gets hundreds of thousands of views. And that's why she's been able to do well. And that goes back to the first one where she sells you on her first and then the vehicle. And so she can post whatever she wants and people will just love her for who she is because she's Shelby, right? And so she can put B-roll and music and get 100,000 views. She can have a skit. She can have a transformation. She can have a training. She can have talking head video. And these all rip hundreds of thousands of views because she sells people on who she is and they're all obsessed about her and wanting to be her. This ties to your personal brand because when you just post one type of content, what happens is you're putting yourself in a box. Let's say you only give valuable advice. If you give only valuable advice, the moment that you post something apart from value, that video will get no fucking views. You're not building a personal brand, you're building a value brand. And that's what I was doing for the last 2 years of creating content. It wasn't until I switched into selling people on the version of me that I was able to scale to 100 and 150K a month. I was only able to do that because I understood that I need to sell people on what I've been able to build first and then sell the vehicle to get there. Everyone can say the same value that I'm saying, but because you guys know who I am and everything, you guys have context that I'm still 20 and I'm still in university and I'm running this huge business, but I'm not running this business for the sake of money. I'm running it for my family, for a legacy and all these different things. Everything that I say sounds different, right? Because context matters. What Shelby says matters more than the hundreds of other online sales coaches out there because you know that she's living your dream life. She's been in door-to-door sales for 2 or 3 years. She's been in this game for so long, for years on end, and she's extremely good at what she does. And the context she has around her personal brand allows her to stand out. What I've been doing for myself is I have been just testing a bunch of different formats and not worrying about views, but worrying about actually creating a personal brand where whatever I post, people will fuck with. And that's the most important part. You can't stick to just one strategy because the moment you do that, you build a very one-dimensional personal brand that people will only watch for that one thing. And the moment you try something else, they don't like it. They tell you to go back to this. And now you're stuck with a brand that you hate because you weren't intentional with the design of your brand. Now, the third part that ties everything together is the relatability. And if you don't get this right, you're not going to make hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's just the truth. What Shelby does extremely well is she makes you feel like you're one of her girls. And she almost gives you life updates as if you're her best friend. And it's not because she's bored. She's extremely smart and intentional about this because she understands that if she can make you feel as if she's your best friend, you're going to buy from her because you relate to her and you want to learn from her. You want to be in her position and you feel like she can get you from point A to point B. And the way that she does this is she treats you like a best friend. One thing she's also not afraid to share is her background and where she came from. She constantly talks about her days as a sorority girl in college and just her being a party girl and then transitioning over to a business owner, right? And what that does is it creates a sense of connection because it makes her feel as if, oh, she was once just like me. She was once in my shoes, but she played her cards right and now she's at this point. I can do the same thing, right? So for a lot of you, you're too far ahead of your prospects and the people that you're trying to sell to that these guys don't even feel a connection with you. They don't even feel like they resonate with you. Like this is you and these are your prospects. And what you need to do with your content is you need to lower yourself down to your prospects level so that you can help them. And this is the analogy right here, right? You're up here, you're up on the hill, and your prospects are down here. What you need to do is you need to give them a helping hand and make these guys realize that, hey, I was once in your position. Here's how to get to where I am with this vehicle. And the moment that you can do that, sales will start raking in. It almost feels like Shelby is just a regular girl, but the only reason why she's at where she's at is because she understands sales. That's how she wants you to make it seem. And that's why she's printing so much, because you're like, oh, if Shelby can do it and she was this person and, you know, this person before, I'm that person. I can just do what Shelby did and I can get to point B, you know? And that's what you sell. You have to make it relatable and you have to almost resonate with them so much on the level where you kind of downplay your accomplishments and you're like, I'm not special, I'm not smart, I'm not this. I'm just a regular person from this town and whatever, and I just made it work because I had this information. And you can buy this information in my course or whatever, right? That's how she positions it. She positions her information as the only thing that is separating you from her. And the moment that you buy this information, then you're going to achieve this transformation. And that's how she sells you. Now, the fourth and final lever that she pulled in order to generate the most amount of cash was having a villain in the story. The best marketing practices in the world by the biggest companies like Apple, Samsung, and all these huge companies, billion-dollar companies, all use this. They all have a bad person or a bad solution or a bad product that everyone has tried, and they throw rocks at it and they blame that bad solution as the reason why they failed over and over again. And the way that Shelby has done it is she has just portrayed it in a sense where, you know, the villain is working a regular job. The villain is marrying a rich person. The villain is doing what society tells you to and just going against the grain. And she sells the whole idea of, you know, instead of doing all that, make your money, be single, and just be your own boss. And again, it leads into this whole feminist mindset, which is the biggest thing in 2025. She understands that there's so many women and so many, you know, girls that feel empowered by this feminist movement that she can sell to that demographic. And that's exactly what she's doing. She's selling the idea of being single, making your own money, not having a boss, not listening to a man. And that's her entire brand. That's what she's built it off of. And what this does is it creates a ridiculous amount of FOMO, because as a woman, you're like, yeah, like, why do I have to listen to a man? Why do I have to do this? And it's so extreme that it creates FOMO. And that's another key point. You have to be on an extreme side. You can't stay in the middle, because the moment you stay in the middle, they don't like you, but they don't hate you either. And that's the worst place to be in. You need to be in extreme where people either love you or they fucking hate you. And you have to have thick enough skin to be able to understand that and build that trust. Okay? It creates a ridiculous amount of FOMO, and she amplifies this with her stories, right? She gets people posting on their stories where they're learning from her. And when they post this and everything, you're just wondering, like, what are these girls doing? And you fall into her funnel, you fall into her ecosystem, and she kind of just like sells you on the idea of being an independent woman where you don't need to work for a boss and you can just work for yourself, which is amazing, right? She does this even more with her story highlights and just showing student wins and posting regular women getting these, you know, 5 to 10K a month jobs and making money from anywhere in the world and everything. And it just sparks your interest as a girl, right? And then she sells you on the idea of having live training where she coaches you for free for an hour, and she sells you on the back end, and then she answers your questions. She shows you the lifestyle, and she even has a product that she sells on the back end because her personal brand is so strong. So that is exactly how she's been able to pull millions of dollars every single month with her coaching business. And she has done an amazing job at finding an underserved group of people in the market where they have a huge pain point, where they have a buying power and they just needed someone to look up to and someone to buy from. And she has absolutely crushed it, and she's going to crush it for a long time because she understands these 4 levers to pull, and she understands marketing like no one else does. I love doing these breakdowns of people that are just killing it. And, you know, you'll be able to take golden nuggets from her funnel and what works for her and apply it for yourself. And again, this isn't going to be a useful video unless you actually go and implement it. So write down 3 to 5 things that you're going to do right now that you can learn from her and implement it in your own content or in your own marketing and see how much more money you make. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.